Hey race fans, back in the shop. Probably seen my last video, posted it yesterday. I'm gonna record this one, probably post it next Friday. But I wanted to show you what I got going on, talk about some things that are happening here, and give you some hints and tips and all that kind of good stuff. So hang on to your horses and sit down in your seat, because this is gonna amaze you. Okay. Chevy 2 stripped they sprayed bed liner on this firewall, so I can tell you this was a chore. And it had like card been painted 3 or 4 times. So, and as I said before, I'm fixing it from the firewall forward, so I cleaned all this paint off. They had some nasty patches over the heater hole. I'll repair all that, and then they had a plate welded over where the wiper motor goes. I will repair that. I probably will drill it and tap it and put an aluminum plate on there just in case I want to put a wiper motor back on it. But all in all, it cleaned up pretty good. And then in the process, I noticed stuff like this, because I'm always looking. But they cut the frame there on this side and tried to weld it. Keyword there is try, because that's really bad. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these bolts out 2 at a time, grind all that out, and then re-weld it really well. So the other side's fine. I mean, they didn't touch that one. So I don't know what they were thinking there, but as I said, cleaned all this off, all the paint off. Yesterday I fixed this. I got the dashboard done. I welded all the holes shut in the dash, and I welded where the radio goes shut, and put 2 gauge holes in there for water and oil pressure. And the reason why I welded the hole shut in the dash is because when I'm sitting in the seat with a harness on, I won't be able to reach it, turn anything on or off. So I'm going to have to come up with some sort of panel. And I probably will mount it up here where the visor goes. I'll probably make something that'll stick back here a little way so the switches are straight in front of my face. So therein, the license plated car, it'll have headlights and turn signals, stuff like that. So I gotta put all that in my thought, but I gotta do body work now on the dash. And out here, that's my next step, is you guys seen all this, fix all this stuff. Got to tap it around a tiny bit and get some filler on it. I talked to you in the last video about rust treatment in these holes, and I wanted to show you this real quick. This 3M, can you see it? 3M Rust Fighter. This can here has been around a while, but this is the stuff I spray in all them cracks and gaps. It's got a little hose on it like the carb cleaner, brake cleaner would have. And I'll spray that up in there where I can get it, just to slow things down. So, you know, I can get up, if you look, I'm hoping you can see it, but on this side there's the big hole. There you go. There's the big hole you can get in for the vent. Now I'll get in there and I'll paint all that as much as I can in there with silver paint in a foam brush. Just the silver paint, like Rust-Oleum silver, has a ton of zinc in it, and it just stops rust. It acts like the sacrificial anode and stops rust. And then where I can't get, I'll spray that spray in there. But as you can see, got the motor out. I cut part of that motor cross member out just so I could get in there and work. And you know, this thing here, I'll paint, like once it's all put together, I'll paint it all satin black. And the car I'm going to keep gray, the gray primer, a little bit darker shade. So I'll paint all this that dark gray color, so it's done, like I say. And then I just got to fix it from here up. In the roof up there, there's some tiny little holes. I'm going to fix them with JB Weld for now, because I'll put a new roof skin on it later. And then I'm just going to paint that edge of Chevy orange and put the window back in it. So over on this side, like I say, they tried welding a patch in here and warped it up real bad. So what I'm going to do is I'll weld this plate in this hole, and then I'll make a big aluminum panel that goes on here with some bead rolling on it to cover the rest of that mess up, and then I'll just silicone that on there good. So when you're fixing a piece like this that's already been warped up really bad, the idea is to cut it way out here and put a new piece in, and I'm not going to go there. I'll just put a piece of aluminum over it. So, but it's full of holes. Like, they welded some up and didn't grind them down right. I'm going to finish weld it and fix it all, clean it all up really good, and get it sanded and primed. And I know where to poke a couple holes in it for wiring and stuff like that, so I will do that. I'll drill holes for wiring. And it had a cable gas pedal. Something else I wanted to talk about, which is a huge no-no in a race car. This is a pedal my buddy Jeff gave me that it's out of a Camaro, I think, but I'm going to adapt it to this car. It will work. But it had this cable on it. It's like a GM throttle cable. The bad part about having a throttle cable is if your throttle hangs wide open at the carb, you can't lift it up, the pedal up with your toe and turn it off. So it's going to stick wide open. So like on a race car, don't put a cable on it unless you're like my blower car had a big Morse cable, and that you could pull up with your toe. You know, pedal's supposed to have a tow hook on it so you can pull it back close. So my recommendation, if you can avoid it, don't run a cable. If you do, run a heavy Morse cable, and you know, like Heims or the quick disconnect end, stuff like that. So anywho, like I say, motor's out. I'm going to clean this thing up. It seemed to run really well, but I've got a Victor Jr. intake I want to put on it, and I'm going to check the cam. I got better, like aluminum valve covers, rib valve covers I want to put on it to make it look retro, and a deep, like a Moroso deep pan I'm going to put on it. And I'll check the camshaft. I'm going to see how big it is, because if it's not a 1/2 inch lift cam, I'm going to put a bigger cam in it. So, but the intake was leaking on the back. You can see that crap there where stuff was running down. It looks like it might have had a little water leak, and it definitely had an oil leak. So gonna fix that. On to the head scratcher of the week, and I think you guys might appreciate this. This took a lot of thought and a lot of effort. As you can see, I got a shock mocked up there because I've got no room, so I have to be extremely careful with what I do. But I got the steering done. These Pete and Jake's arms are designed to go on the bottom, and I could have put them on the bottom, but I didn't want to heat them up and bend them. So I just moved them to the top, and I put a little 3/8 spacer in between the arm and the spindle, which won't hurt anything. And then to get the steering in there, I stepped the tie rod. I also stepped the drag link. You can see I bent the steering arm. That steering arm is so thick, I heated it up with a torch, and then stuck it in my press and bent it there, because I definitely couldn't bend it by hand. So they got the steering all done. The box is in there nice and neat, and it clears over the top of the starter okay. The radius rods are on, and I got them midpoint. What you're trying to do when you put a hairpin on like this, or a radius rod, is you want to find the middle of the axle there where the hairpin and or radius rod is going to mount, and then you want your pivot point here to be the same height, because you want that to be in the middle of the arc. You don't want it to be in the top or the bottom of the arc. That way your kingpin, your caster kingpin inclination doesn't change as the axle goes up and down. This car will only have a 3-inch stroke shock on it, so it won't move far, but still, you don't want it to change drastically as it moves up and down. Back here, I built a little 1/8 inch thick plate, but I built a box, and I used a piece of heavy wall tubing and tapped that 5/8 so we could thread that bolt into it. And I'll finish weld that once it comes off the jig. My whole goal here is to get the front suspension finished so I can get it off the jig. My shock tabs, I had to come up with something there to get them where I wanted them, so everything clears. And Then if you look at the front, you can see how my drag link goes from the steering box over there, and I made the bend in a little farther on that one because it's going to swing out farther when the thing turns. So trying to make it so nothing hits the oil pan, so we got plenty of clearance, because all that stuff will stay in relation to the axle and the hairpin, but it will get closer to the oil pan. And it's going to have about 1.25 inches upward travel, so I think I'm good with everything there. I know I'm right at 1.25 inches on the oil filter, so I think we're going to be good. I'm ready to work on this side, making a lower shock mount. I got my little jig here, and I try to jig everything. I don't guess at plumb and square and all that stuff, so I try to jig everything in the beginning. I did the same thing with the hairpins, the same type of jig that come up and it held the hairpin plumb and figured out where everything needed to go. So that's where I'm at on the Willys. Like I say, this has been a head scratcher, but I got her. So I mean, it doesn't have, don't pay any attention to the hardware, because I just got stuff bolted in there to make sure all the angles and the clearances are right. I'll have different hardware and locking nuts on everything when I'm done. So then we worked on the Vega a little bit. Can't show you a ton there. We built the wishbone for it, but it's not in there because we were trying to stand in that hole to work on it, and got the anti-roll in there. It's roughed in. It's all built. It's like an 1.25 inch 3/8 wall tube, chromoly of course, and some home built arms. Then all that stuff's welded to that cross member, so it's removable. We haven't finished welded the cross member. The next thing we'll do is make the links to hook to the housing on this car. Then it'll be on the mount, the gas tank, the battery box, all that great stuff. So anywho, we're having fun. Sean B brought the front end off of the Rocky Van Notes Vega. This was the stuff we took off of Rocky's car and put struts on it. I'd recommended that to Sean, but he really wants to go this route, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to get this stuff all mounted on, clean it up, put it back on. Got a little bit of work to do. So anywho, that's what's happening in the shop. Tons of fun. Now I'm going to go haul the garbage. That's what I do. Sweep the floors, haul the garbage, clean the toilets. Hey, it's tough when you're dumb. Hey everybody, thanks for watching and putting up with my insolence here. I'm, enjoying doing this a little bit. Like I say, I'm just trying to share what's in my head. If any of this helps anybody, it just makes me feel good. And I appreciate all the positive comments from everybody. That means a lot. So thanks again, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day.